Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Serial Gaming here. It's another new month, so that means new character to rank. So this time I'm doing it before the stream because I don't know when the stream will land and how close we'll be getting the character after the stream. And it might render me a little bit too rushed or too busy when doing my recording. So anyway, I would be doing it earlier this time, so I'm just putting an estimated range of character. So today's video we'll be looking at Yuffie, Oren, Braska, Ace, Dorgan, Yuri, Bartz, and of course Setzer. So yeah, this will be my range of character. Before we begin, I just want to say again, this is just my list, it's just my preference. It's of course not the ultimate list that you should just completely follow. Just let me know what your list is and we can of course discuss about it. But of course, starting right off the bat, the very bottom of my entire list will be... Yes, Bartz. It's actually astoundingly shocking how bad it is here. Normally, I don't recommend putting one character over another character in most situations because of, like I mentioned before, I said that everyone is actually really good during the FR Echo era. It's just depending on how good and how less good they are. But Bartz actually managed to fall into that very bad category in my opinion. Alright, let's take a roundabout look on his kit first. First of all, his FR can be used as a main and as an echo. But is it any special? No, it doesn't. It provides 75% on turn, and that's it. There's no off turn here, and there's of course no HP damage cap up tied to this FR, which is supremely weird, but we'll get more into it. So Bartz, as usual, as we know, he's a wind enchanter and he does have an Imperial aura, which is nice if the enemy cannot be debuffed, which is always not the case nowadays. But anyway, he has a gravity attack which allows you to easily break the enemy without having to worry them having overly brave gain. And of course, the best thing about Bart's FR is that Squall is his FR partner, but that's about it. Let's look at the cons here. His damage on turn freaking sucks. He does like 5 to 6 damage with a little bit splash on his skill 2 or skill 1, I don't recall, but that's all to it. There's not a lot of on-turn damage going on for Bartz, and of course there's 0 off-turn damage since it's not an off-turn damage dealer. And he actually has a selfish high armor. Like what the actual fuck, Square Enix? Like why? His on-turn damage sucks, his own damage sucks, but he can't even enhance his party's damage with the HP damage cap up. He only provides a measly 30% HP damage cap up in his BT, and the BT requires stacks for you to build. So he needs to take 3 turns to get the maximum potential of his BT, and it's not even that good. And of course, the saddest part is Bart is tied to a wind elemental, which will be a frequent cases where you don't use him a lot in stages where wind elemental is blocked, for example. But yeah, Bart's overall just freaking sucks. Honestly, he doesn't do much, he doesn't provide much, and his Echo or his FR is not really that good as well. So just overall a really bad characters in all of the lists that we have right now. Like I said, it's really shocking how bad his entire kit is. As a support unit, you should at least have a very decent HP damage cap up at this point in your overall kit to at least justify bringing you over any other characters. The funny thing is, aside from the brave damage up that he does, Twin actually provide even more HP damage cap up, not to mention if you use Twin's main FR. So what in the actual hell, Bartz? Anyway, the next one coming up, just so you know, is a leap different from Bartz. Anyone above Bartz are all actually really decent. So just so you know, even though he might be the second last, he has a huge leap over what Bartz can do. Yeah. Okay, so this list might again trigger some people, so I was a little bit reluctant to put Ace in here, but I'm thinking among the list that we have, having Ace here is actually it's actually justifiable. Okay, first of all, Ace actually does have like a decent amount of HP attack. He does like 8 single target HP attack on his skill 1 and then 5 split on his skill 2, which is again very decent. So in a situation where you have more enemies, the trap word triggers, which allows Ace to deal even more damage. He has a very hybrid playstyle as you have played with Ace before, but the bad thing about Ace, let's just take a look at his FR first. So I will never recommend using Ace FR as a main. It's really bad. You have a 45% on turn and a 5% off turn, and the funny thing about the off turn is it only triggers if you deal magical damage. So that automatically limits your team composition. Like if you're using his FR as a main, aside from Ace himself, not a lot of magical units actually have off turn. We're looking at Cloud Darkness, we're looking at Garnet, we're looking at, for example, Beatrix, I guess. But again, it's not like magic attack is very uncommon, it's just that it limits your team composition, like units like Core, units like Gladiolus, units like Oren, which has very decent off-turn attack at this current moment, cannot synergize really well with Ace if you use his FR as a main. So again, Ace FR for me is far better relegated to Echo. And the funny thing is, Core actually does even better FR condition than Ace. He does like 50+% on turn and then 5% off turn regardless of any type of attack you're dealing. So if in a situation where you're running a dual Core and Ace kind of situation, it's way better to just use Core FR as a main. And do take note that I don't think Core FR is a very strong FR as a main as well. So anyway, Ace has a very hybrid playstyle as before because he deals damage on turn and he's not afraid to give turn to the enemy as well, since the trap will still trigger. He also get a very good strong update on his BT effect expiration finishing attack. So for those who never used Ace before, once the BT effect from Ace expired, he will actually deal a strong finisher attack, and right now the damage can go up to 10 full HP attack, which is insanely good, insanely strong. But then again, it's not something that you can pull it off very often, or it doesn't come across very easily. And finally, his FR actually land the trap debuff as well, giving Ace a little bit more longevity in that sense, and I believe they actually increased the LD usage by 1 extra use, but I'm not too sure on that. But anyway, looking at the cons for Ace is that, of course, like Bards, he actually requires stacks on his BT, and he needs to take 8 turns for his BT to expire if you want to get access to that strong finisher. So unless you're going BT mode, it's not really easy to tie the BT finisher with the last of the force time that you have, especially given how slow Ace is in general as a character. And of course, going into BT mode might make you trigger the expiration of the BT effect way easier, but also take note that during BT phase, Ace trap doesn't trigger. So yeah, another counterproductive situation to go into. But anyway, his trap still only lasts for 6 turns, which honestly kinda sad if you ask me. I still don't think that Square Enix should give him this kind of treatment, but because considering that Size actually had 15 turns, that's a huge difference between them. It's like 3 times. But anyway, he does have improvement on his overall application because he can land debuff way more right now with his FR and with his extra LD. Also, so do take note that Ace trap damage still deal 1 HP dumps, although it does get some improvement on the splash attack. But honestly, that's not too much of concern for me because trap attack is so broken that it triggers every single turn, regardless whether or not you're taking a turn or your enemy is taking a turn, or whether or not you're supercharging or doing FR battery. That part itself it's already more helpful, and given the fact that trap can trigger even more attack based on the amount of enemy you're dealing with, that could be, it's not really a big issue for Ace trap to just have 1 HP dump, but honestly the 6 turn one is just a huge turn off for me. And there's no improvement on his HP plus as well. It's still instant turn, and it only deals 1 HP dumps, which is not really good when you use it during your active force time. So yeah, that part is counterproductive for Ace to land his debuff more often during the force time. But then again, like I said, you probably won't be able to finish his debuff anyway when you use all your LD and your FR. Just make sure the enemy don't get too much turn because you want Ace to get his turn in and refresh the debuff. And of course, for Ace, as a DPS character, you want to maximize his damage, you want to have the ultimate weapon for him, and he's a troll ultimate weapon, which is not really that common, so I guess it's kind of a con here, but who knows, maybe you just max it out like me. I'm gonna get a troll ultimate weapon as well, so maybe you should too. Alright, so my favorite girl from Final Fantasy VII actually made it to the third last of the character list, which is really sad. I really want to put her higher, but it's just not justifiable. So you can know that my list is not biased, yeah. Anyway, she provides 60% on party turn for her FR as a main and 80% on her own turn, which is not really a lot. So in my opinion, it's not the hardest to fulfill, it's not actually quite easy, but it's just not a lot to justify using her as a main FR, especially given the fact that there's no HP damage bonus tied to it as well. Anyway, looking at the pros for Yuffie, of course she has multiple utilities. She has buff block, she has brave game block on her EX debuff, she has stat down which includes speed down, she has dispel, she cleanse, she steal buff, she can transfer debuff. But all this is just the niche utility that you need her, then she can fulfill. But outside of all this, she actually provides a strong HP damage as well with her converted HP attack, which now provides 9 full AoE HP attack. And surprising, not so surprising, she actually provides way more HP damage cap up than Bart's. She provides a 55% with 40% from her BT and 15% from her high armor to the entire party. So yeah, it's pretty good. But looking at the con side, she, like I said, she has a selfish FR condition, which I would not recommend. And of course, she has no HP damage cap out in her FR, which makes it even less reason for you to use it. And the worst part of it is that Yuffie has a very short BT effect, which is tied to a strong HP attack. She's only access to 6 turn of BT effect, so for you to actually have the maximum BT damage, you're going to have to use her echo, and then her BT finisher, and then going into a BT like that. So it's not really the easiest for you to set up her to do her maximum damage during her BT phase, and in that particular situation, I do not recommend Yuffie, to be honest, unless she's a good favorite. And of course, like Ace, she's a damage dealer, so you expect her her ultimate weapon to be equipped, which is throw again. So once again, we're entering into a situation where you won't be maxing this ultimate weapon unless you want this specific character to perform. So yeah, that is also one of the part where Yuffie would struggle a little bit. 世界をつなぐ。僕たちの戦いを始めよう。よーし。 Alright, I actually struggle a little bit in between these three, Ace, Yuri, and Yuffie, to know which character should be placed higher than the other characters. But ultimately I decide to put Yuri here. It might be surprising to most because Yuri doesn't get the most showcase in JP, but he's actually really good right now. He provides a 45% on party turn, 70% on his own turn, and 5% off turn. To be honest, his main FR is not the best, but it still can be used. It's not the worst as well, considering the fact that off turn is there. Anyway, looking into his pros, Yuri actually has the upgraded BT effect just like Shantoto, like Squall, like Vaughn, where he gains a 80% self HP damage cap up to himself, and of course a 30% HP damage cap out to the entire party. So that itself makes Yuri a lot more viable as a damage dealer. That is why I place him up here. His only issue is, like Vaughn, he doesn't have a follow-up attack, and his on-turn damage is not like super high, super strong, but he does come with a trap activation, which might be tricky to pull, to be honest. But anyway, his BT effect also provides AoE evasion, and right now it has been improved to 8 turn, so it's a lot easier to pull it off and maximize your BT effect. And of course, AoE evasion is actually really good. Don't underestimate this particular effect. It can be really clutch, especially given how frequent you use Radius LD call nowadays. And like I mentioned, Yuri himself is a damage dealer, so having a sword ultimate weapon is going to be a very good advantage for him. And as for his con, like I said, he has a very sad FR condition on the party turn. 45% is just not great. Yeah, even with Echo, it only rounds up to 65%, which is not great. And the trap activation can be a little bit clunky because it can only be activated manually, or if the enemy if the trap expired after the enemy takes 6 turns, which is not very common. So again, Yuri playstyle can be a little bit tricky to use. And lastly, of course, he's tied to specific element, which always can be an issue if the boss is not absorbing this particular element. But other than that, Yuri actually, like I said, provides decent damage, has very good utility in his BT effect. He even has healing as a damage dealer. He has the HP regen, which is great. The only concern between him and Yuffie is that I'm not too sure which two characters can provide a higher damage at this point, because I never really had Yuri in JP to test it out. But I think really people can be surprised by how good Yuri can potentially become with all this effect that he has. So Braska is a character where he actually is decent, but that's about it. He doesn't provide anything unique in my opinion. Alright, let's take a look first at his FR. He provides 70% on turn and that's it. So his FR, since it provides a decent amount of percentage on turn, you can use it as a main. And of course, I would recommend using it as an Echo instead, because he has strong follow-up like Sarah, where he deals 3 HP full attack without having to decrease or without basing on his current bravery. So that part is actually really good, because you actually provide more damage if you use it as an Echo as compared to other characters. But anyway, looking at Braska, he now does decent damage like Sarah, like I mentioned, and he's a supercharger and FR battery, and that's it. I really don't know what other good thing to say about Braska at this point. And the bad thing is, of course, nothing really special, and he has tied to one specific element. Oh yeah, before I move on, his BT now allows fire enchant, so you don't need Lulu's Call any longer with Braska right now. I think that's about it. But yeah, moving on. Okay, Auron, I just want to say, this top 3 characters that I will be ranking here is actually miles ahead of everyone else again. So looking at the FR of Auron, it's providing a 35% on party turn, 45% on his own turn, 5% off party turn, 10% off his own turn, and then 20% on enemy turns. Wow, that's a lot of shit all piled in together. But anyway, his FR is obviously very good if you're going for the off turn route, which again, obviously is going to be what you're going for if you're using Auron anyway. But yeah, he's a strong tank with a very decent counter. He has 3 HP dumps on his counter. I don't think there's any improvement on that, but it's not really a big issue considering that it's an ignore defense attack and it's actually pretty decent. 3 HP dumps is still good. And his self-heal after his counter. And of course, Auron is one of the few counter that actually has an E-Spear, which allows you to equip Vanille Spear to use Auron as a Dispeller, giving him more utility. He has very strong on-turn HP attack right now as well, with 7 full HP attack. Yes, it's not Yuffie kind of strong, but for a counter unit, that's absolutely insane. And of course, he protects the entire party and is accommodate to Great Sword ultimate weapon, which is always good. The only issue about Auron is that he doesn't provide much self-protection as compared to the other tank that you're looking at. If you're looking at Gladiolus, if you're looking at Galoof, if you're looking at Ruby Conte, Auron just provides a little bit less in terms of protecting himself. He's so busy protecting everyone, he just kills himself off in the end. So yeah, you may need to be careful if the enemy is a very brave gain or very HP attack friendly kind of unit, then Auron might be in trouble protecting everyone. Anyway, Auron EX also delayed, which is counterproductive to what he do. And of course, his skill 1 passive should be removed to actually avoid the speed up buff that he provides for himself to actually deal the most damage from his counter. But yeah, that's about it for Auron.
Shuffle! いい目が出そうだぜ。ここまでだ。
Coming in our top 2, I'm gonna put Setzer here. Yeah, it might surprise some people that he's not the main or the top of the list, but there's a reason I put him here. Okay, first of all, let's look at his FR. So the reason I put 3 ticks on the main part is because his FR actually has 50% HP damage cap up, which is stupid because why give him this when Bards needed more? And as for the condition, he provides 70% on party turn, which is the common right now, I guess. But anyway, yeah, Setzer actually provides a very decent amount of HP damage cap out with his BT effect and his FR being the main. You can go up to 80%, although his high armor is a little bit awkward because he only provides 5% HP damage cap out to the ally with 50% to himself. So it's a little bit selfish as well, but it's not like Bard's level of selfish. But anyway, he also has multiple utility, like he has Freeze Bravery from his skill 1, and then he can delay the enemy from his skill 2, he provides party-wide rainbow damage from his LD, but the best part is of course his BT effect, which now has an RNG Kina effect. So what it does is, like Kina, he allows your party to do the maximum HP damage to the enemy regardless of the amount of bravery that you have, but the only difference is it's relying on chances, which is what Setzer always like to do. So you basically get 70% chance for your party to hit the maximum damage. And also the funny thing about Setzer's BT is that the duration of the BT effect is also RNG. You can go as low as up to 6 turns only, or can go as high as 12 turns. But to be honest, this is not really a big issue in my opinion because Setzer is not dealing the best damage on turn. So you're not using him as a BT character or a BT phase character for that matter. You're mainly using him as a support, so he's gonna be standing aside. So yeah, the only issue with Setzer in my opinion is all the RNG element from his BT effect when it comes to 70% dealing the HP damage, the maximum HP damage. So sometimes when you're not bringing any single character that have Brave Gain, your launch may deal 0 or the maximum damage. Yeah, that's the RNG element that you're looking at. So you can even see sometimes people actually run Setzer together with Kina to get rid of that completely, but then again that's very counterproductive in my opinion. But yeah, solely for the fact of his kit being very RNG like, it's not gonna make me want to put him at the top of the list, but he's still very good regardless. Very packed with utility while still having very decent supportive capability.
風の導きを本気で行く。よし、行くぜ。せいや。極めし技を食らえ。
And the funny thing about all this is that the first and the top of the list is actually the father of the worst of the list, Dorgan. Yes, Dorgan actually is, in my opinion, the best character of the month at this current era. So 25% on party turn, 45% on his own turn, 5% off party turn, and 20% off his own turn. Okay, so why do I put a double tick for the main? So aside from being actually really easy to fulfill, he also provides a lot of utility to Dorgan if you use his FR as a main. So first thing first is that all skill of Dorgan will be able to break the enemy if you use his own FR. And the funny thing is, it actually also has a 30% HP damage cap up tied to his FR. Like, what in the actual fuck? Why is Bard so bad and you're so good? Why are they giving you everything and then just leave Bard aside? Anyway, enough complaining about Bard. Dorgan doesn't get much rework on his original kit because you know that he's already really good. He breaks delay constantly and then he opens up to really cheesable playstyle. And of course, combo with the right unit, you can deal up to 6 follow-up very easily without having much problem. But anyway, he also gains a BT here, which it's insanely good because it allows your party to now reset breaks instead of just Dorgan himself. And of course, he also enchant the entire party with Wind Elemental right now with his BT, making it far easier for you to fulfill his condition. And lastly, Dorgan being the DPS follow-up attack that he is, he actually has access to sword ultimate weapon, so which also makes it really easy for you to make him do the maximum damage. The only problem with Dorgan is that he's tied to Wind Elemental and he has split HP attack on his follow-up, so if you're looking at 3 enemies, it's not the easiest for you to cap all of your attack without Kina or Setzer's present. He also won't work at all when the enemy cannot be broken, so take note into that, but yeah. Anyway, now that we've finished all the rankings, I'm gonna just mention about which character I'll be pulling for. So first of all, I'm gonna pull for Yuffie because, you know, the obvious thing about it, I don't care if she's bad or good, I'm just gonna pull for her. Yuri, sadly, I'm gonna skip just because I want to save my resources. I'm pulling for Bartz because I already have his BT maxed out, so why not just go for his FR and score as his partner, being a huge plus on that. I'm going for Ace because the same thing as Bartz, I already have his BT plus maxed out, so I just want his FR. I'm not going for Orin though, sadly, because I just don't see myself using tanks very often. But I'm going for Dorgan as well with his BT. I definitely want to combo him with all the characters that I have. He's always very fun to play with. I'm skipping Braska because fuck Braska, nobody cares about Braska. As for Setzer, it's just a huge maybe, I'm not too sure. I like his FR main having the 50% HP damage cap out. But outside of that, I just don't see myself using Setzer more, especially given the fact that I already have Kina present. I mean, yeah, Setzer provides more party-wide protection to the entire party, but I much prefer something that is not relying on RNG. But anyway, that's my plan for now. What about you guys? Let me know what is your thoughts on the comments below, and of course, let me know what is your ranking of the character. Did I get it all right? Is it similar? Just let me know, yeah? Thank you again for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.